Hello and welcome to episode 423 of the Daily Sales Message Podcast, where every single day I share a piece of simple and actionable advice designed to help you feel more confident and sell more stuff too. Now, in today's episode, we're talking about something which I think is often missed in the world of sales and selling, and messaging and naming businesses, products and services and all that kind of good stuff. It's the power of recall. One of the things I talk about is things have to be easy to read, write, speak and spell. Read, write, speak, and spell. If you're going to be naming something, you're going to be coining terms, using messaging, read, write, speak, and spell are very, very important. So we remove those barriers to people just understanding what you're saying and being able to compute it. But secondarily to that is the power of recall. I see very few people, very few businesses, apart from really big brands, using things like jingles, taglines, and other kind of mechanisms, even rhyming, other kind of mechanisms that allows their message not just to travel, but to be recalled at the correct moment. In the UK at the moment, one of the big kind of jingle, tagline-y kind of things that's happening, and if you're English, I don't even need to say the end of this, is did somebody say? Did somebody say? Or did somebody say? It's quite melodic, and the answer is Just Eat. It's for Just Eat, the restaurant takeaway app here in the UK. But did somebody say? Just 3 words. They have drummed that into us. They're focusing on the power of recall. So in the moment, we will think of them and then we're going to buy the product or service. The question is, how do you take advantage of the power of recall with your buyers? Well, there's a couple of ways you can do it, and I've kind of already mentioned them. One of the first ones is to have a tagline. A tagline doesn't necessarily have to be rhyming or witty or funny. It could be something really plain and simple. It doesn't matter too much. But the fact you have a tagline can give your buyers somewhere to hang their hat. I can't really go into how to write a tagline in a very short podcast I've got here, but I literally wrote the book on how to write a tagline. If you go to Amazon and search for how to write a tagline, it is a book that I wrote quite a few years ago now, but it's got about 70 or so tagline templates in there that will set you on the road. A tagline is a great way to inspire recall. The second one, and this isn't just a preserve of rich and expensive mainstream brands, but it's having some kind of a jingle, some kind of audio signature. It's becoming more of a thing these days. If you remember back in the day, Intel, they had that boom, 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 boom. It's great impressions there on the podcast. But they had that kind of noise. McDonald's use, just trying to think now. They use that whistle. It's I'm loving it. So even without words, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The question is, and this company's out there, you can just buy off the shelf audio kind of signatures. It's like having a logo, but it's an audio logo. Starting to use those kind of things in your messaging, in your communications, things like that, things like taglines, but focus on recall, because your clients and potential buyers thinking of you at the precise moment they need you is the name of the game, but it's often missed. Right, that's it for this quite long-winded and exploratory episode of the Daily Sales Message Podcast. Tomorrow in episode 424, well, it goes without saying what I'm going to cover in tomorrow's podcast, but I'll cover it in a little bit more detail there. In the meantime, if you haven't already, please hit like, subscribe, share, comment, interact with the podcast in any way you can, whether you're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are. The more interactions that each episode gets, the more the algorithmic gods will push us out there and we'll reach even more people with our free and practical sales advice. That's it for this episode. Thank you for listening or watching all the way to the end. I'll catch you tomorrow for a less whistly edition of the Daily Sales Message.